Welcome to Next Play. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Next Play. Super pumped to have Olympic diver Andrew Capobianco on. Super pumped to have you, like I said, and thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to chat with you guys.
Oh, so much. Thanks, Andrew. I'm going to take over. I always do the reading of the accolades, and your career is incredibly impressive. So just bear with me while I go through this pretty quickly. Well, I can't, not as quickly as the accolades are anyway. So in college in IU, Indiana, we had a Hoosier in our house. So big IU fan. Three-time Big Ten Diver of the Year starting in 2019. Two-time NCAA 3-meter diving champion 2019, 2021. 10-time All-American. And my son and I had to look at that several times, not realizing, I'm like, 10 times? How is that possible?
Yeah, you can because we have 3 different events. So like each year you can become an All-American more than once.
Yeah, that's badass. I was like,
yeah, pretty cool.
Right? 10 times. Love it. Double digits. 4-time Big Ten team champion, 11-time Big Ten individual medalist, 5 championship titles. You have gold. How many golds? 1 gold, 2 silver, 4 bronze. Is that right?
In the Big Tens?
Yeah.
Yeah. This might not be counting 2023, which was my last year because I ended up doing a 6th year.
Okay.
So I think there might be a couple more in there, like a couple more golds. But the most important ones for me are the team ones. That was like the big goal, obviously, like being a part of the IU swim and dive team. So
okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. 3-time diver of the Big Ten championships. Indiana Male Athlete of the Year. Was that one of your favorites? That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that was super cool. Just because, I don't know, I guess divers don't necessarily get a lot of accolades, maybe throughout a whole athletic department, because they're so focused on maybe the revenue sports and stuff. So here at IU, they really appreciate the divers. So that was really cool to be recognized in front of all my friends and colleagues.
Absolutely. That's really cool. Love that about it. Yeah. 3-time first team All Big Ten. Now your professional career, 5-time junior national champion, 4-time senior national champion, 2019 Pan American Games bronze medalist on 1 meter and synchronized 3 meter, 2020 Tokyo Olympic silver medalist. Congratulations. That's so cool. And then 2024 Paris Olympic team member in the 3 meter springboard event. And congratulations on qualifying for that.
Thank you. Thanks. That was an exciting one.
Yeah, for sure. I'll let Owen start with the questions. We'll kind of go back and forth and pepper you since we have you here for a few minutes.
Yeah, for me, kind of just diving back a little bit. I saw that you were a gymnast before diving. Is that common to kind of switch over from doing gymnastics to the diving? I know it's obviously the flipping and everything, so that makes sense. But what kind of made you make the transition?
Yeah, so it's pretty common for divers to do gymnastics first. It's kind of like a pipeline that we have, because there are so many injuries in gymnastics. A lot of the time, people that have injuries and stuff are just maybe they don't love the sport anymore. They find diving and transition into that. But for me, it was a little bit different. I kind of just tried every sport when I was younger and found gymnastics finally after realizing that I didn't like to do the normal kind of sports. And so I started that when I was 9. And then when I was 10, I went on a field trip to a community pool, and I was just doing my flips off the diving board. And the coach that was there asked me if I was a diver, and I didn't really know what diving was. I'm from Long Island, New York, and that wasn't a huge sport there. And so I tried it out, and I really liked it that summer, and then went home and then we joined a USA Diving Club that fall. And then I did both of them together for 3 years, and it was really great. Like you said, they are kind of similar in a way, with the flips and twists. So they do help each other in a way, but also there's some differences that make it hard to do both at the same time. So when I was going into high school, I made the decision to just kind of stick with diving. And that kind of had to do with the way I saw myself progressing, but also there's just a lot more opportunity in diving, especially for males. Whereas men's gymnastics, there's not that many collegiate programs and stuff. So I just kind of saw more of an opportunity in diving.
Yeah, that's sweet. Did you have a favorite event in gymnastics or?
Yeah, I was big floor and vault, which makes sense and kind of transitions to diving pretty well. And I really hated pommel horse, which I think a lot of people don't like pommel horse in gymnastics. I just couldn't really get that one.
Yeah, I saw that you moved from, you said you're New York, right? Is that where you're
Yep.
from? And
Long
then,
Island, yeah.
okay. And so then you moved in order to pursue your career in diving. Is that
Yeah, so that was like a big kind of push for the reason that my family moved, but we kind of like just made the move as a family, and it was like a big decision. My parents had just retired, and they were kind of looking to like get out of New York, and my brother wanted to go to vet school, and NC State has the #3 vet school in the country, so it was like a good spot for him to go just because of like getting in-state tuition and stuff like that. And then for my twin brother, he kind of just wanted like a fresh start in a new place, so it like really worked out really well for all of us. But yeah, it was like a lot because of my diving.
so at
Yeah.
a young age, obviously they knew you were something special in this in order to consider that into their move.
Yeah, I would go to camps when I was younger with Drew Johansson, who's my coach now,
Yep.
and he was actually the coach at Duke when I planned to move to North Carolina. So I planned to move there to be coached by him actually, and then he got the job at IU as I was moving to North Carolina, and so I actually was never coached by him in high school. And it ended up working out really well for me because I had two like really good coaches in high school, and they were perfect for me like at that point in my career. But then kind of like when I was choosing schools, like I knew that I wanted to come to IU because I always kind of wanted to be coached by Drew. So
And he was just named four-time Olympic coach, correct? For Paris
yeah,
Games. Yeah.
yeah. So fourth time in a row. So it's pretty awesome to be coached by such a legend. And then his wife was also named to the coaching squad, and she's the first female to be an Olympian and also an Olympic coach for USA Diving. So they're kind of like a power couple.
That's amazing. And to have that, is that an advantage mentally, do you believe, to have had him be your coach at the collegiate level and now in the Olympics? You know, I guess I'm curious how your relationship seems strong, but how the mental side of the game developed, or I shouldn't say game, of the competition developed in college and now, you know, with him through this journey.
Yeah, I think he's been able to kind of just obviously be with me every step of the way. And in college, it's really special because there are so many competitions that you're able to compete at. And so he was able to kind of see how I competed when I was younger and make little tweaks to kind of like make me the athlete that I am now. But I don't think without like that NCAA season where I was able to compete so much, I would be the same athlete that I am now. And yeah, so I mean, it's very like kind of unique in diving where like we're able to continue to train with the same coach and like a college coach as we like turn into professional divers. So that's like really special. And I definitely like didn't want to leave IU. Obviously, like we have Drew and like I said, we have Jenny, his wife as well, but there's also just so many like great resources around here. As well as like just like the athletic department, like I said before, like really appreciates and loves our diving program. So yeah, I just like knew that I didn't want to leave, but it definitely is a huge help that he knows me so well. And I think that like we're still obviously like building a relationship. Like it's something that we continue to work on.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I'm should have done my research even more before, but like what are the powerhouses for like diving? Like I know basketball, like Duke is like Indiana, one of those like top diving schools.
Yeah, Indiana has like historically been probably the most successful diving program or one of
Oh,
them. Purdue is another big one. So Indiana as a state is like really good for diving. And then I would say Texas is really good. Miami is really good. Arizona has some divers on the Olympic team as well as Minnesota. Those are kind of like the big ones right now. So it's pretty spread
yeah.
kind of like around the country. But yeah, the Indiana schools are definitely like consistently the ones that are producing the top divers and a lot of them.
Was it Indiana all the way or like throughout the recruiting process where you're like, because obviously you said
Yeah,
your coach was there. So,
yeah, I had taken some other trips just to like get a feel for some other schools. And I really did like Ohio State. I took a trip there. That was actually my only other trip that I took because then when I came to Indiana, I kind of saw what the program was like and kind of the system that we had here. And I just loved it and felt like I fit right in. So I canceled all my trips after that. So it was kind of
yeah.
like basically Indiana once I saw it.
Oh,
So,
Indiana's it's such a pretty university,
Yeah.
right? On top of everything else. So from the diving perspective, does the mental aspect of it, did it start really young where that was talked about? I find with the athletes that we work with, individual sports tend to talk about the mental aspect a little bit sooner than team sports. I'm curious your story on when you focused on the mental aspect, at what age and who kind of guided you in that.
Yeah, I would say when I was younger, I feel like competing came like a little bit easier to me. Just like I was kind of like this ball of energy and I would just like talk all the time. And like I wasn't really like too focused on what I was doing when I competed, just because like it's like I said, it came pretty easy to me. But I remember when I went to my first junior world championships and I was like super nervous and it was like an environment that I wasn't comfortable in. I did not have a good competition. And that was kind of like the first time that I remember going back afterwards and talking to my coach about more of the mental side of it. And that was when I was about 14 or 15. Um, just like having to talk about not focusing on other people and like just controlling what I could control. And that was like what I'm doing, like we're lucky in the way that we do a sport that you don't have like another team that you're basically like having to play against and you don't have to adapt to that. Like my coach was saying the other day, like we like our whole sport is basically offense. Like there's no defense to our sport, like our job is just to go out there and score as many points as we can with our dives. And then if another diver scores more points, then they win. But if you score the most points, then you win. So having to learn that was kind of hard because when I was younger, definitely found myself like comparing myself to other athletes or watching the scoreboard and seeing how they were doing and trying to like maybe try a little bit harder on my next dive to try to jump ahead of them. But you can't really do that, like you should be trying your hardest on every single dive and you can't really change what you're doing to try to match someone else. So yeah, I would definitely say we did talk about it from a young age, but I think probably when I got to college was like when we really started like focusing on the mental side of things. Like in juniors, it was kind of like here and there when I was in high school. But when I got here and saw kind of how the other like older athletes were training, then I kind of dialed it in a little bit more.
For the synchronized, I was super curious about this. Like, is that different from like a mental standpoint? Like, kind of like having to rely on someone and like, do you feel added pressure to like kind of hold your own during that, or is it you don't like think like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to, like there is someone else
Yeah.
relying on you. So it is kind of a little bit more of a team sport in that way. And my like basically first time ever doing synchro was with my synchro partner from Tokyo, Mike Hickson, who was the Olympic silver medalist from Rio, the Olympics before. So that was like a lot of pressure for me to come on as the young one and have these expectations of upholding the level of diving that he was doing. And
Yeah.
so I mean, it was hard at first, but I would say he just made me feel like really comfortable and very trusted, like in that. And basically, like if there's a mistake in there, like we win as a team and we lose as a team kind of mindset. But I also think we did a really good job of kind of just like staying in our lane and focusing on our own dives and just like doing them at the same time. Like for synchronized, we do so much training with our timing and there's just kind of like a pace that you have to follow, like almost like dancing or something like that. Like you like are following like a rhythm as you're going down the board. And so like we had that rhythm, we had it down really well. So once we were on the board next to each other, we kind of just focused on doing the best dive possible by ourselves because that's also judged. So there's like the synchronized component, but also the individual component that's judged.
Yeah.
Oh,
This is kind of unrelated to like the mindset stuff, but like, can you tell like if they messed up, like, or do you have to like go back, like, you know what I mean? Because you can't really see. I'm assuming, but
Yeah, no, you can't really tell. It kind of you just like come up out of the water and you can
yeah,
kind of tell by the crowd's reaction, like if you
yeah,
do a good dive, but you come up and there's no cheers, like your synchro partner probably missed their dive.
yeah,
But yeah, that's kind of like really the only way because like you can see them out of your peripheral vision, but you can't really tell how their dive is going.
yeah,
yeah. When I'm watching it, it's not as clear. Other sports, you can see the emotions a little bit easier, right? It's hard to see the behind the scenes with diving and get into the mind because in my perception of watching, everyone's so serious, right? You have this like warm up and you're serious. And then afterwards you go into the pool or something. And then there's a little more laughing and smiling, but that's what I see. And so curious the mental preparation right before a dive, whether it's individual or team that you guys typically do. I see a lot of listening to music is what it seems to me. I don't know. Is that mostly it? Yeah.
Yeah, so I like to listen to music like as I'm going up to get on the board. And honestly, for me, it's not really like to pump me up, but it's more so just to like block out any distractions that I may have as far as like what the divers before me are doing, or like if someone on the deck like tries to come up and talk to me, like I don't want to really be talked to at that moment because I'm kind of focused. But I don't know. I kind of like try to keep it pretty simple when I'm going up there for my dive. So like in practice, I'm very technical and kind of trying to focus on the little aspects of each dive and trying to fix things. But like once I'm in a meet, it's not the time to try to fix things anymore. It's the time to just like execute what you've done back home. And so I get on the board and I'm basically just like thinking about how it feels to do a really good one.
Okay.
And just like trying to remember the feeling of that and then replicate it. Because if I get too technical, then it just like kind of messes me up. So I kind of just like, I know a lot of athletes talk about like that flow state that they get into where
Yes.
they're just kind of like just riding the wave. And I mean, it really is important to do that in diving. And then also, like you said, like we are pretty straight faced and serious. Like for me, if I do a good dive, I don't want it to like change the way that I'm feeling very much because I still have 5 more to do. And so, or a bad dive, like either way, it's just kind of like there's still more dives to do and they all count equally for your score, you know. Like I was talking to someone the other day and I was like, it really is like a brutal sport because if you have like one miss on a dive, like if I missed one of my dives in Paris, I probably won't have a chance to be on the medal stand just because there will be other people that probably won't miss. So it's a little bit
Yeah.
hard. It's challenging for sure.
Well, on
I
that,
would be a terrible diver. So yeah, yeah,
just wanted to throw that out there.
yeah. I mean, and I would like, yeah, that would not be good for me.
Well, you never know. Maybe you should try it.
Well, you know, on a sort of heartbreaking note, you and your partner in synchro just missed by the smallest fraction of a number and to make it to the Olympics in Paris, and wondering how you rallied back from that. Using what you just told me, it seems like you just moved forward, right, in order to perform in the individual and then be able to get to Paris there. Curious, you know, what that experience was like for you.
Yeah, it was really tough because the last Olympic trials, like everything kind of just went right for me. I qualified in the synchronized event first, and then it just made the individual event a little bit less pressure because I was already going to Tokyo. And this time going into Olympic trials, I was really feeling like so confident about what we were doing in synchro. And so I almost felt a little less confident about individuals. So that made it even harder when we didn't qualify in synchro, than having to try to like find this confidence that I didn't really know that I had for the individual event. But yeah, so after the synchro event, I kind of just took like the 24 hours that I needed to like feel the emotions of it and not let myself just like brush it off, because obviously like you do have to like almost like grieve a little bit. Like that was a dream that I had, was to go in synchronized as well, and it wasn't going to happen for me anymore. And so I needed to like feel that. I mean, I like went back to my Airbnb, had a little cry, and then woke up that next day and just like was, I mean, if anyone on the pool deck talked to me, I probably would have like broke down in tears. So I just didn't talk to anyone. I just kind of like did what I needed to do to get my mind back to being right. And I do really feel like once like 24 hours was up, I felt like I was like ready to go again. I just felt like in the synchronized event, kind of like I was saying, you're like not supposed to think so much about the person that's next to you, but I did feel like I was doing a little bit too much of that. And so my kind of like mantra, or like my word for the individual event, was like, be selfish. Like, and I just kind of told myself that like, this is about me. And like, I still have a chance to qualify for Paris in this individual event, and nothing else matters besides what I'm putting forward. And so the next 3 days after that synchro event, like I did very minimal talking to people. I didn't really care what people were saying about me, thinking about me. Like I just was so focused on those 6 dives that I had to perform in the preliminary, the semifinal, and the final. And when I woke up on that day for individual, I just kind of felt like it was going to happen for me, like because I was just so focused and ready to go. And honestly, because I was so focused on myself, because as an athlete and as a person, I kind of just find myself focusing on what other people think a little bit too much instead of just myself.
Yeah, that's the human side. That makes sense, and that you were able to, in such a big moment of your career, be able to let yourself feel first and fight second. And I love that
Right.
messaging, and I think it's really important for athletes to hear that. And you have to be able to say, that sucked, you know, that didn't feel good, and I have to feel it, so that you could then quiet the noise, which is one of the things I think that's the hardest for athletes, is to quiet the noise in order to focus. So yeah. And get into the performance flow.
Yeah, I know you said that
it was not easy.
Not easy. No, I can't imagine. Really impressive, though. Really.
Oh, thank you.
That is impressive. So I know you said the one mantra you used was be selfish. I also did a little research. I know you have the tattoo, fortune favors the bold. Where like
Mhm.
is that also kind of another mantra that you use, and like where that kind of stem from?
Yeah, so the year before the last Olympics, it was actually basically the year of the last Olympics. Me and my coach Drew had made the choice to try a like higher degree of difficulty dive than anyone else in the competition was doing, at least in the U.S. And that was like to switch my back 2.5 to a back 3.5. And at the time, like they weren't going very well. I honestly like had just learned it, and I wasn't really sure like how it was going to go. But he looked at me and he was like, "Would you rather miss the back 2.5 and like not make the Olympic team, or miss the back 3.5 and not make the Olympic team?" And I was like, "I would rather go for it and try the higher degree of difficulty and miss." And so that's what we did. And so that was kind of like the fortune favors the bold aspect. And then it turned out that in the final, like it worked out for me. And like I needed to going into the final at the Olympic trials for Tokyo, I was in 6th place and you need to come top 2. And I just like clawed my way back. And that dive was like the big like energy dive that got me there. So like
Well,
that was kind of my thought when I got the tattoo, but then it like ended up working out.
hell
So that
yeah.
was pretty cool. Yeah.
Where'd you get the phrase from, the mantra from?
We have a sign in our weight room that says fortune favors the bold. So I kind of like looked at that like every day while I was training in the weight room. And then I was like, yep, I like that. So I'm going to put it on my arm.
So have you seen, by the way, I don't know if you're on social media, the TikTok trend of people trying to do gainers in the pool? Have you seen this?
Yeah, I have. Like very recently, I've seen them. They're so funny.
They're hilarious.
I have
And
not
Yeah.
seen these. What is it?
Oh, it is the funniest thing watching these people. And I'm so impressed because when you talk about being bold, they're terrible watching them attempt it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it is crazy. I mean, that's like basically what you see when like I was first learning a gainer, or like pretty much anyone. Like it's like such an unnatural thing to like go forward and flip backwards like that. But I
Yeah.
mean, then once you like learn how to do it, then you're fine, kind of just like anything else.
Well, Owen was saying, because he was showing me one of your dives, and he's like, this is sick. I think people don't fully appreciate the difficulty,
I
right? 'Cause
definitely did not until like I always thought it was like super sick. Like I was like, how do people do this? But like I was going through like your TikTok and I was like, how the hell? Like what? But
Yeah,
I
no,
do
I mean it's
I
hard. Like it's hard to like understand, because I mean I think that we like do a good job of making all the stuff look pretty easy, and that's like
yeah.
the goal is to like make it look easy. But that's like kind of why I think like some people are like they should put like a random person in the Olympics to do like all of the events like
yeah,
next to these Olympians, so that like people can see like
It's
what it's
not
actually like the
yeah.
difficulty of it, because we do like most times make it look easy.
for
Yeah.
sure. Well, you dealt
Yeah.
with some injuries, Andrew, and I know you had surgery on your knee. It was that last December. And
Yeah.
then, okay. So how do you mentally get through injuries? We talk about this quite a bit. And then every athlete's going to endure some sort of injury at some point in their career, especially at the high level you're at. So what techniques can you share with us that helped you battle back?
I would say like for me, the hardest part about injuries is like training with injuries. I think competing with an injury, a lot of athletes would say like maybe is the easiest part, because once you're there, like you have that adrenaline and you're like, you take like maybe some ibuprofen or Advil, like if you need to, but like getting through the everyday grind, and like, first of all, it's hard regardless of how you're feeling, but then like you have this injury as well that's keeping you from either like doing everything you want to do or everything you're like feeling like you're supposed to do in order to accomplish your goal. Like that's just so hard. So for me with my knee injury, like that was kind of the reason why I ended up getting that surgery, was because I was just like grinding every day and it was hurting so bad, and I just like couldn't find a way to get it to stop. And so we like got that surgery. It was just like a kind of cleanup surgery for my patellar tendon. And
Yeah.
it did end up working. I do still have some like pain in there. And it's like something that like the doctors are just kind of like, you'll just have to deal with that until you can really take like a while to rest. But um, yeah, like the training really is the hardest part with an injury. And I mean, I would just say like some days are going to be good and some days are going to be bad. And you just kind of have to like let the bad days like roll off your back, and then like really like savor the good days and like learn something from that.
Yeah, you seem like
So
you're
yeah.
so good at the reframing of thought. Listening to you talk, I hear you doing that a lot. Like, that a negative thought came in, or, it's difficult, and that you were able to reframe it. And I think mentally that's something that people can probably take away. Do you do any visualization ever? I mean, I would imagine with all the stuff, you visualize it before doing it, probably.
Yeah, for sure. Like a lot. Sometimes it's hard. Like all of us divers kind of talk about it. Like sometimes you'll be visualizing it and it's like the perfect dive. And then like in your mind in a split second, you just see yourself like smacking flat on your face. And I don't know why our minds do that, but it just happens
That's
like
awful.
that. So
That's
yeah, no, and then you're just sitting there like, why am I even doing this? Like this is making it worse. But like I said, like I kind of really like to focus on like how the dives feel. So when I'm like sitting there before my dive, like I'm maybe not necessarily like visualizing in the way that like I'm seeing things, but I am just like kind of sitting there and like feeling how it would feel
Feeling
to
it. Okay.
do that dive. Yeah,
Yeah, more in your body, like your senses. Okay. That makes
exactly.
sense. I guess, yeah, I want to know, we always ask all of our, people that come on the podcast, well, how would they define mental toughness?
I would say being able to like continually show up regardless of the circumstances. And like it may not be that you're showing up with like the best attitude. Like, I mean, even today in practice, like I really didn't show up with a great attitude because I was tired. I had weights this morning and I also had Pilates. It was just like a really long day for me, but I like showed up and still was able to like get something out of the workout. And I think like that's the biggest thing about like finding that mental toughness. And like you were saying, like being able to kind of like flip the script and being able to take like a negative and kind of turn it into a positive. Like something that my mom always told me when I was younger is like everything happens for a reason. And I think that like being able to do that and being able to like maybe take something that like didn't really go your way, but like finding a reason for it, like creates mental toughness and creates like you being able to like continually go back and continually like get results, even though like maybe the last one wasn't good. Like the next one like will be there for you.
For sure. Okay. So also, what are you listening to? Can you tell us, or is it secret? Like, what music do you have going there? Can we know?
Yeah, I actually did something a little bit different at trials, and I really liked it. So on the way to my dive, I was listening to rap. I really like NF when I compete. He's like,
I love
My
NF.
mom's
Yeah.
like favorite
I love
person.
Really?
NF.
Yeah,
Andrew.
seriously.
Oh my God. Deep love.
I
Love.
like feel like
Yeah.
he's not very like well known, but I
He's
seriously like that like vibe and that energy is so good for me when I'm competing. And then after my dive, I was listening to country music on the way back because it was making me calm and like able to kind of move on to the next one. So it was just kind of like a reset for me. So that was kind of what I was doing.
See, we think people are coming to this podcast to get mental tips, but really they're just going to be so excited to know what you're listening to and where they're watching you like kick ass in Paris.
Yeah, because I mean, you can't tell because I'm literally just like straight
right.
face.
Right. That's why I'm like, the inside backstories are so fun.
Yeah.
And we're so excited to watch you. What day do you compete, by the way?
So my prelim is on the 6th.
Okay.
And then the top 18 from the prelim make it to the semifinal, which is on the 7th. And then top 12 from the semifinal make it to the final, which is on the 8th. So the 8th of August will hopefully be my day as long as everything goes to plan those first few days.
Oh, I feel good about it.
Thank you. I appreciate
Good
that.
vibes.
Yeah. Good vibes. And the gear, I heard the gear is sick. Are you excited about the USA gear?
Yes. I mean, I'm so excited about it. So last time, like, obviously COVID with the Olympics, like things were a little bit different. So we just kind of like arrived and all of our gear was in the room in the Olympic Village. Like we didn't get to have like a fitting or anything like that. But this time, like we're arriving in Paris on the 18th and then on the 19th is like our like fitting day. So we're going to like go somewhere and get like kitted out with all of our gear and like get the measurements and stuff. So it's going to be like a whole kind of experience. So I'm really excited for that.
Yeah, that's cool. You get to go to the other events as well, right? Like you can hop around to,
Yeah, which is also different from the last time because last time, because of COVID, we weren't allowed to go and watch the other sports. So like, that's like one of the big things I'm really excited for is like being able to go and cheer on the other athletes and like go watch like sports like like I love watching volleyball or like track and field, gymnastics, like just go see those people that I've like idolized for so long.
For sure. Well, I know so many athletes idolize you, and they do. They look up to you, and they're going to be really excited to watch you in Paris. We thank you so much for coming on the podcast. We really do. So good luck in Paris.
Thank you. Yeah, Thanks so much for having me. That was fun.
Yeah, we'll be tuned in and rooting you on. So
Thanks everybody for listening. Join us next time with another athlete and another story. If you like what you're hearing, subscribe. And in the meantime, check us out on Instagram at Pure Sports Mindset, or check us out online at puresportsmindset.com. And if you are an athlete looking to get mental toughness training, reach out to us. We're happy to have one of our coaches teach you some of the techniques that you're hearing from athletes on the podcast. All right, take care.